Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Shaw Foundation Alumni House. My name is Tianro. I'm currently a second-year student enrolled in NUS. Thank you for taking the time today to be a part of You Alive, a platform that showcases the many outstanding members of the NUS community who are championing causes dedicated to making the world a better place. Now, as always, today's You Alive session will be in 3 parts. Firstly, we will have a 10-minute speech by our speaker, Mr. Subhas Anandan, followed by a 10-minute interview with Viswasa Sivan, the chairman of the You Alive Organizing Committee. Finally, we'll have a 40-minute question and answer session. Now, if you would like to participate in the session, all you have to do is head towards the microphones placed along the aisle, state your name, and then speak clearly into them. This is essential as the online community who are viewing this via webcast would not be able to hear you otherwise. Please keep all questions short and concise, focusing on the why of the speaker's passion rather than the technicalities of his work. Now, thank you for your kind attention. Please sit back and enjoy.
Alive.
We are a global university. We have a global vision. We recruit students and faculty from around the world. We give them opportunities to learn how to be effective in many cross-cultural settings. And we do this by creating a very diverse environment in NUS. And when people from outside look at the university community, what they see are very rigorously educated individuals who do well in their work.
But you know, there are so many universities that are catching up today, and we need to look for a differentiating factor.
We must have strong heart. We must go beyond just merely academic excellence.
Not what the university does and does well, but what the university stands for.
And that is the passion of the community, students, faculty, staff, and alumni, the spirit of the explorer. Somebody who is mentally curious, who has got initiative, resourcefulness, willing to break new ground, which requires boldness, and yet is somebody who is prepared to do something different, to make a contribution.
NUS needs to be seen as an organization that is the nurturing ground for people with great passion and the will to go out there and make a difference in their society. And that's what underscores You Alive. University that's alive.
Where we have members of the NUS community share their passion and their commitment and their contributions in many diverse fields.
To share their achievements, to share what they have gone through in their life with the student and the graduate community.
Could have been a student. He or she could have been or is a teacher, a faculty. Could even be an employee, a staff member, or most importantly, an alumni.
Individuals who have committed themselves to do very interesting and different things in many varied aspects and dimensions of sports, arts, culture, community service, academic work. And what distinguishes them is a great passion that they bring to their work.
The speaker speak for 10 minutes about not so much what he does, but why he does it. What sort of trials and tribulations has he faced? Why does he believe in this? And after that, there will be a question and answer, an interview, a fairly tough interview. Following that, there will be a live question and answer session with an audience comprising about 100 people. You Alive will be in 3 different dimensions. One, in the auditorium, right, in front of a live audience. While that's going on, it will be carried live via webcam to the student population on campus. And the students can actually interact live while they're watching it. The third dimension is we're going to be pumping it to linked websites to more than 200 universities, some of the top universities in the world.
There's another very important dimension to You Alive, and that is it's mainly driven by our alumni.
The whole idea is to provoke thought, ignite that latent flame that I believe strongly exists in each one of us.
There are many things in life that will catch your eyes, but few will catch your heart. And only when you pursue something that you are passionate about can you achieve greater heights.
And to make even more distinctive contributions to the society we live in and to the wider world beyond.
You Alive will epitomize that.
Passion,
Action.
inspiration.
You Alive.
Actually, I became a criminal lawyer by accident. When I first started practice, I had a lot of clients who came from my kampong, my neighborhood, which was quite rough. They were all involved in criminal matters. And because of a certain degree of success, the word went around that I'm doing crime. And the next thing I know, I've been branded as a criminal lawyer. To me, when a person is charged with a capital case, if he's found guilty, he will be sentenced to death. That is the supreme punishment they are going to give this accused person. And I think it's only fair that before we impose the supreme punishment on this person, that you give him a fair trial. One of the most painful moments was when the Court of Appeal decided to affirm the verdict of guilty on Atuk, the Wong Nas case. Because I still believe that he's a guy who shouldn't have been hanged. Because I believe he was not mentally sound. I have no regrets. I'm happy doing what I'm doing.
Ladies and gentlemen, Subhas Anandan.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It's my privilege to be here among such eager-looking audience. Part 4 of the Constitution of Singapore describes fundamental liberties of an individual. In fact, the heading of Part 4 is Liberty of the Person. Article 9(3) of the Constitution says that when a person is arrested, he may be told of the reason for his arrest as soon as possible, and is entitled to consult and be defended by a legal practitioner of his choice. In paper, it looks very good, but in real life, it is not so good, because you are never given access to your client until the police have extracted all confessions from him, and by the time the lawyer sees him, it will be a bit too late. So we argued about reasonable time when access should be given to the lawyer to see his client. In the case of Jasbir Singh versus a drug case, which I argued, we raised the point that the lawyers were not allowed to see the accused person until about 2 weeks after the arrest. And the Court of Appeal dismissed that point and said that 2 weeks is reasonable time. And they are not going to hold the confessions that were made by the accused person as invalid or non-admissible. And years later, in the case of Leong Siu Cho, I think you all will know that case very well, because this is the person who chopped up his girlfriend into 7 parts and threw her body into the Kallang River. And he was kept for more than 2 weeks, and I was his lawyer. And we argued, saying that the Court of Appeal only said 2 weeks is reasonable. How come we are not allowed to see our client? And the prosecution said that they have not completed investigation. It's very strange. The prosecution feels, the police feels, that if a lawyer is allowed to see his client during investigation time, it will impede investigations. In other words, the lawyer will give some advice to the accused, and it will be difficult for the prosecution to prove his case. So that's the reason they always give. So, and I said, why isn't it investigation over? He says, well, we have not found one part of the body yet. So I said, then, are you saying that if you never find that body, that part of the body, the case is not going to go on at all? There was silence. And they were still objecting. So we leave that part there and we go to the second part. Section 22(2) of the Criminal Procedure Code says that when you are questioned by the police, you are bound to tell them the truth, the facts, everything that you know about the facts and the circumstances of the case. However, you do not have to say anything that will expose you to a charge, a penalty, or forfeiture. In other words, you can give a statement to the police, but you do not have to tell them anything that will incriminate you. Right? This is a right of the accused person. So in the case, in the Liu's case, I told the judge, all right, I will see my client in the presence of the investigating officer as well as the DPP. Because I'm not going to give him any sort of advice or any sort of whether to cooperate or not to cooperate. I just want him to know that Section 22 of the CPC gives him the right not to incriminate himself. I said, because the police never tell them that. I said, how can I telling my client the rights that he has under the law, how can it be an impediment to investigation? There was no answer. They said, never mind about that, we are objecting. And in fact, they even wanted the accused to be taken out of the court so that he would not hear argument and learn that he don't have to say anything. But at least there, the judge used his common sense and said, no, the accused can remain in court. And I spoke very loud so that the accused can listen to what I got to say. But then he was not that smart. So he made statements that finally convicted him. Now, at that time, the police had 2 sort of forms. One is for the witness, where the caution will be read. You do not have to say anything that will expose. He's only a witness. For the accused, that part will be missing. There's 2 set of forms. So we argued in the Court of Appeal. We said that this is wrong, this is unconstitutional, that is discrimination. And of course, the Court of Appeal was not sympathetic. But I believe that nowadays they do give the warning to witnesses as well as to the accused person. But we still have complaints from the accused person saying that they do not understand what the investigating officer is telling them. It is not explained to them. I can believe that because sometimes when we cross-examine this recording officer, who is a sergeant or inspector, when we ask him to explain what expose yourself to a charge or penalty or forfeiture, what do you mean by that? He himself doesn't know how to answer in court. So how is he going to explain it to the accused person? So we still ask the authorities that why don't you allow us, the lawyers, to be there, explain to the accused person his rights, and then you can continue with the investigations. He's not allowed. They somehow do not want the lawyers to be involved in the investigation stages. So you have a constitution which says something, but in practice, it means something else. Here again, you got rights under the CPC, which again is not exercised carefully because you do not allow the lawyers to go into the real meaning of the law. If I ask you, and how many of you knew that you do not have to tell the police something that will incriminate you on a charge? Not many people know. So time came when there are some people who knew the law and some who didn't know the law. So there's again a problem because this law distinguishes between people who know and who do not know. So it is actually discriminatory against people who are ignorant. So we tell the authorities that, look, not every common man will know his rights. Why don't you let us explain to this particular person his rights? And then you can carry on interviewing. And it was also not done. And one of the most strange things is the statements are recorded from the accused person, sometimes without the warning. And the crucial part, the most important part of the statement is somehow taken at 3 o'clock or 4 o'clock in the morning. They wake him up from the cell and decide that they will record a statement. And if you find out at 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock is the time when you are really deep in sleep. And I asked the police, why do you take this statement at 3 o'clock or 4 o'clock in the morning? They said that's the only time he's free, the investigating officer is free. I said, you mean the daytime all you're sleeping, is it? You're something like a vampire, is it? No, it's. And when we were revising the criminal law procedure, I was appointed also to be in the focus committee by the minister. And I raised it up to the CID and said, this should stop. And the CID director says, well, we only do it to 20% of our cases. I say, what? You're very proud of the fact that you only do it 20%? There has to be 0%. He says, well, we will try. So anyway, that's criminal law practice. What you see, what you read, and what actually happened are two different things. I believe I got only 10 minutes. I think I've run out of time.
Hi, Subhas.
Hi.
You have highlighted some things which, if said outside, could be in contempt of the judicial process. Would it?
No, I don't think so. I've said it in my book and I've not been charged yet.
I think the key word is yet. Seriously, why do you think there is this anomaly?
Huh?
What accounts for this anomaly? I mean, what is provided in the Constitution appears not to be practiced, yet nothing is being done about it. What do you think accounts for it?
I think it would be not right to say nothing is being done about it. I brought it out in the committee. I brought it out with the dialogue with the Minister for Law. And he says, he notes the point, and he feels that the time is not right yet, and that in time to come there will be changes again in the CPC. I said, when do you think we can expect this? Well, he says, well, Rome was not built in a day. And I said, yeah, but in this particular case, it's taking a hell of a lot of days, And so we have left it at that. But I think there will be changes because we got a Minister for Law who has been in practice before, and he knows some of the practical problems that we are having. So I expect changes to come. But whether during my lifetime or not, I do not know.
Well, I mean, it is a serious point because in the interim, people are being incarcerated and perhaps not fairly, perhaps, you know, and as long as that is allowed, even if it's one, it is not correct. And what is the association of criminal lawyers that you are heading, that you formed actually? What is that association actually doing to push this agenda?
This association was set up about 8 years ago because we felt that the Law Society was not doing enough for the criminal law practice. You see, the Law Society is handicapped because they cannot comment about laws unless they are asked to comment.
Yeah.
That's the law. So they can't say a lot of things, right? They can't say a lot of things. But we are registered with the...
That's after the Select Committee on the Legal Professions Act in 1980s, right?
Yes, I think the Section 38 or something.
Yeah.
I mean, so we are registered under the Register of Societies. We are not created by statute by the Law Society. We cannot be controlled. They cannot tell us what we have to do. So we thought that by setting up the Association of Criminal Lawyers, we can comment, we can say things that we want to do, we can write articles, we do, and we have been the pressure, pressure point for changes, much more than the Law Society.
Yeah. So the question is, how effective has that pressure point been? Right.
It is.
No, I think obviously you are putting the pressure, but whether they are feeling the pressure is a different thing altogether.
Well, it depends whether they feel or it depends on their skin. Sometimes they feel, sometimes they do respond, sometimes they don't.
See,
but we feel that they have responded in the CPC that was repealed. Many of the suggestions by the Association of Criminal Lawyers and Law Society was taken into
now, how long
much more can be done.
How long does it take from the time it's accepted to constitutional change or to change in practice?
Oh, constitutional change in
constitutional
Singapore.
Change, I know, it can take forever.
You can do it tomorrow.
It can be done very fast. It all depends on how well the draftsmen work, right? Now, the question is, how long does it take from the time in principle acceptance of your suggestion is made to implementation, from your experience?
Maybe a year.
Okay, that's not too long.
Not too long.
Right.
Not too long.
Right. Let me ask you this question. What do you think accounts, based on your own experience, you've handled, more than 1,500 criminal cases, am I right?
I think now more than 2,000. I'm getting older, you know.
Yeah. And frankly, I can't tell. Do you normally have this hairstyle?
I've had it for a long, long time now.
It's quite impressive. You don't need...
I think it's a bit too long now because my wife, who normally cuts my hair, she's in Macau, so she goes...
No, Subhas, my question is, there seems to be an issue of values in society as well. We don't seem to put very much of importance on accused persons who are accused in criminal law. You know, white-collar crimes are viewed perhaps a little bit more sympathetically, but there seems to be a certain disparaging view society takes on people who are accused, not even found guilty, but accused of criminal offenses. And would that actually account for the orientation or lack of sympathy that's being conveyed through some of the practices that you suggest?
I think you're partially right, because society somehow or other seems to not to accept or not to give an accused person who has been charged with an offense any sort of accommodation in the sense that...
Or the benefit of the doubt.
Benefit of doubt. Sometimes the media is also responsible. They have already decided that this person is guilty.
Yeah.
In fact, I had a problem when I was defending this Atuk who killed this Wang Na, was a 19-year-old. I think he was already condemned and convicted by the people and the media as though he's guilty.
Even though, you know, you say that he was mentally, in your view, mentally not sound.
Well, in my view, he was he was mentally not sound, but the judge didn't think so. And
but what you're saying is that the media, the way the media was carrying the story, led to the public.
Yeah,
and I guess there was pressure on the police and the
Yes,
courts
yes.
because public wanted some form of action taken because there was a lot of emotions involved in this.
Sometimes the public can give problems because the pressure that they put can influence the decision of the police and others.
Yeah.
In the case of Wong Nau's case, it went up to the Court of Appeal and there was 2-1 decision.
Yeah.
One judge in fact said that he should not be charged for murder or not even culpable homicide, he should be only charged for causing hurt. There was 2-1, and under the circumstances I thought the decent thing to do is to commit his death sentence to life for the 2-1, and there are enough grounds to justify committing. There were about 50,000 people who signed the petition. I know. We managed during the trial to win over the public to our side to see the points that Atuk had, the favorable points, but it didn't work. It didn't work.
On the flip side, one of the dilemmas that you face as a criminal lawyer, and what comes to my mind was a conversation I had with Dr. David Marshall a few months before he passed away. And I remember this comment he made quite vividly. He said sometimes, and right to the end, he has not been able to sleep well in some cases because of a profound realization at some point in defending an individual where he realized that individual may actually have been guilty. May actually have been guilty of that offense. Yet the system, the adversarial system, requires you to continue to defend him. Now, that's what he said, and he said he didn't go into the details, but he said there were certain cases that he had to carry to the grave. Now, does that affect you? Where there's a conflict between your requirement, your job as a lawyer, as a defense counsel, and upholding justice in the strict sense of the word?
Firstly, I must say that I don't sleep well, not because of my cases. I suffer from sleep apnea, so that has nothing to do with the cases.
I guess that helps.
But we have to look at the cases and we have to look at the system. The presumption of innocence is so important in criminal practice because the person is presumed to be innocent. It's not for me or you or David Marshall to decide whether he's guilty or he's not guilty. He's only guilty and a competent court decides that he's guilty. Until then, he is presumed to be innocent. I looked at the case that way. There may be doubts in my mind about certain instructions that he gave, but that is irrelevant.
Why is it irrelevant?
Because to me, there are certain doubts in my mind about his instructions. But I'm not going to say because there are certain doubts in it, I am going to say that he is guilty and abandon his case. Yeah. Because the presumption of innocence is there, he's innocent.
Okay, what if you have enough evidence midstream that convinces you that he did commit the offense? No, let's not argue about the meaning of the word guilt. But what if you came to a conclusion, you have sufficient evidence that he committed the offense? Would you be obliged to continue defending him?
Yeah, I will be obliged to continue defending him because
and how would you feel about
that? If I go and discharge myself halfway, I'm sending the wrong signals to the judge and everybody concerned. They say the lawyer discharged himself halfway. This guy must be guilty. I was unfair to him.
So
what I'm saying is, let the prosecution prove its case beyond reasonable doubt.
Wasn't that what happened in the case of Ramu Anandavasan?
What happened in the case?
Where you acquitted. I mean, you defended him, he was acquitted, and then subsequently he committed murder. And then
another murder.
Yeah, another murder, right? And you felt guilty about it, didn't you? It'd be odd if you didn't.
Yes, I felt guilty. I put in my in my book that I felt guilty because I felt that maybe if I didn't do such a good job, this second murder would not have been gone. That's natural.
Well, it may not be so much that you did a good job. It could be that the prosecutor didn't.
I like to think that I did a good job.
No, but the point is there a systemic flaw here? Because this system, the adversarial system, is so dependent on both sides being as good as it, equally good. And is that system actually functioning well? I mean, in this case, this is a classic case. You did say in the book that you still have, you feel a little guilty about this, or you feel uncomfortable about this. Now, how do you...
I think that is natural, because when you do something, there will always be some feelings that be negative feelings. But if you ask me, if somebody like Ramu come and ask me to defend him again, I will still do the best I can.
Even though you know that he did kill someone.
Killing somebody doesn't mean it's murder. Killing can be culpable homicide, it can be justifiable homicide, it can be so many things. That's why we always tell the people, my elder sister is the biggest critic I have, you know. She reads a paper and she reads up and says, how can you do this? That guy deserves to hang. And she's a doctor.
Did you see him roll his eyes?
You know, she's so angry.
Doctor, aren't you?
And I have to tell her this is, and she said, no, I think he's guilty, you know. You people, it's not right and all that. So, but what to do? That's the system. There will be one or two who will escape. You know, the loophole, they will escape. But because of that, are you going to say that we're going to scrap it?
No, I'm not suggesting that. I think it's one thing if someone who's guilty is not found guilty. But it is a different thing altogether if someone who is innocent is found guilty.
Yes.
Because the system allows it. And that's what we're talking about. Or someone who's guilty but acquitted and then continues to take another life.
I must tell you this. I've been in practice now for 40 years, and I think I've done the most number of murders maybe in this country. But I can safely say that in my experience, somehow the system works because I have not come across a case where an innocent man has been found guilty and sentenced to death. I think that credit must go to the system. Somehow it works.
How do you know that?
I know because I'm in the line, man. I will know. The system works in the sense that so far, after all my clients, many have gone to the gallows. And I will say that, well, I did my best I can for them, but I think the system works in the sense that they are actually guilty, and nobody who has been innocent has been sent to the gallows. I did cases where they have been found guilty and the Court of Appeal has squashed the conviction and let them go.
Final question before I open it up. What do you think is the primordial influence you had in going into this area? You were incarcerated. You were in prison.
Yes.
Right? How long were you in prison? In
I was 1976.
76, right?
9.5 months.
Because you were deemed to have some connections with a gang.
Oh, many things more.
Do you think you want to share it with us?
No, I knew that when I was detained, it was a fabricated evidence by few police officers, and David Marshall and Leo Fernando and Mark Okwing, my classmate, they were my defense counsels. We managed to break every allegation that was made against me was broken. And I was released even though my detention order was for 1 year. I was released even before the 1 year. And I was in prison and I could see and I could talk to people. And I know that some of them, when they tell me their story, I know they're lying. I mean, you deserve to be here. But some of them, I know when they tell the story that they too have been fixed or the police has some grudge against them. I'll tell you something, a short incident.
Anecdote.
I'll tell you. There was this person in prison. He was charged for possession of a revolver, which is a very serious offense in Singapore. Every few months, the CID will come and tell me, look, if you don't tell us where you got the gun, you're not going to be released, you know. So we are not going to release you so they can go and take your gun and be up to mischief. So what happened was this guy says, I don't have a gun. I don't know which informer gave them the wrong information. But he had a very good friend. So he told his wife to ask his friend to come, and he told his friend. So his friend was a very good friend, went to Thailand, bought a gun, brought to Singapore, buried it somewhere, and came and told him he's buried there. And then after a few months when the CID came, he said, okay, I give up. You're right, lah. I buried the gun there. So now can I be released later on? He said, now that you have told us the truth, we knew all the time you were already... Now you got a chance to be released. So, there are many cases like that.
No, but in this particular case, how do you know that this guy was telling you the truth?
I mean, sometimes you will know
Your
when
gut.
he's
Especially
we've got a
when-
lot of friends there, and I don't think he's lying. I mean, there's no reason for him to lie to me.
Do you think your period in prison actually made you a lot more sympathetic to the cause of people?
Of course.
Was
It
that a
did.
significant
I had
turning point?
more empathy for people who are in prison. I feel sorry for them. I understand their plight better. And I try my best to help them. And when I came out of prison, I had a list of names and prison numbers of people who I think have to be helped. I wrote to the Ministry for Home Affairs asking them to review their cases, saying that these are what I found out, all that. And to the credit of the authorities, at least 2 of them were released about 2 or 3 months later. Of course, they don't tell you why, but
Yeah.
they released. So
And you deduce that.
yeah, I deduced.
You also wrote a love letter for one of them.
Oh yeah, I mean, I have to write letters to the minister appealing for early release, write letters for their girlfriend. I told him, I see, if I write a letter for your girlfriend, she knows it's not written by you because you can't even write ABC properly. He said, never mind, she'll be quite thrilled. So I wrote for you.
Only one.
Huh?
Only one love letter.
I think I wrote quite a number.
On that happy note, let's have questions or comments, but please, no speeches. Yes. Valerie is
Hello.
moderating the online chat that's going on as we are speaking.
Okay.
Right?
I have got quite a few questions here, and a lot seem to be directed at you personally. So I've got a question from username Lingus who asks, one second, being a criminal lawyer must be tough. Do you want your children to follow in your footsteps? And, so that was by username Lingus. And another one, username IORins, asks, have you ever thought about going into a different area of law because into something more positive perhaps? So, yeah.
Are they from the law faculty?
I don't know. Yeah, perhaps.
Something positive, you mean criminal law is not positive, is it?
Something happier, I guess.
Well, whether I want my son to follow my footsteps, he's here, sitting there. He did finance and banking because I told him you do what you want. It's not necessary you must be a lawyer. So he did finance and banking, and then he's now in the army, but suddenly he decided that he wants to do law now. So I have nothing to do with it. So he might be doing law. But I leave it to him entirely.
Next question.
The other one was, would you pursue another area of law?
Oh yeah, I will. I think it's a bit too late for me, to change now.
I guess the question is it really that difficult to shift?
It will be for me. See,
You are hitting litigation, aren't you?
yes, I hate the litigation. That means I hate the civil as well as a criminal.
Yeah.
I did civil work before, but long before years ago, I got branded as a criminal lawyer, which was very bad for me actually, because I got no other work coming my way. So I'm hoping that somebody will go and steal somewhere or something like that.
And actually, I've heard people address you as a criminal, and then there's a pause before they say lawyer. What?
I don't know. I suppose they got some pronunciation difficulty.
All right. Next, yes, please. A gentleman from Johor. Yes?
No, my name is Tan Sipek, alumnus of University of Malaya, but at Bukit Timah, 1955. I just want to ask Mr. Subhas whether to practice this criminal law, you need to have a sixth sense to know whether this accused is actually innocent or actually guilty. That's one thing. Second thing, whether you need to have a very tough mind to go through calm hell or high water to defend the person because you know he's innocent. I mean, to tough mind, and also whether you have the sixth sense.
You must have a tough mind. That is, you need it for criminal law, because that's the nature of your work. The sixth sense, I'd rather not have the sixth sense, because if you find out that he's guilty, you won't be able to do a good job. So I try not to have sixth sense. It's bad for my profession.
For peace of mind also.
Peace of mind.
Or do you take it up as a sensation? Because so-and-so defendant murderer, so-and-so defendant the death, so on. Do you take it up as a challenge so that you can have a big name or spread all over the world?
I don't think we take up cases for sensation, because you can get into a lot of problem when you do sensational cases, The public eye is on you, and you become a small-time celebrity. You can't do the things you like to do in public, So it's not really advantageous to do
But there
this.
are people who have accused you of being a publicity.
Yeah, but I think that is the least of my problem, because they have accused me of a lot of other things. But let me tell you this. I do all these cases, like Wang Na's case. Somebody else was the lawyer, and they wanted to change. The father, the mother, and the grandmother from Penang, they took the overnight bus, came to my office and waited for me to come back, and started crying and said, please help. I couldn't say no. So I said, okay. We lost money because they couldn't even pay our expenses. Like Constance, she was flying with my late brother, and the sisters came to see me. So all the cases, Along San cases, One-Eyed Dragons cases, all these cases, the publicity came because of the people involved, like Sahara Latif, Shankar Iyer, the in conversation. They came to me. I can't say, hey, this case is going to create a lot of publicity, so please go away. Sunshine Empire case, where they collected $180 million from. They came to brief me. I can't say go away. They paid my firm hundreds of thousands of dollars in cost. I can't say because of publicity. I can't. See, I don't go and seek for publicity. In fact, it would be true to say publicity comes seeking for me.
Because of the nature of your work. But talking about this, weren't there some incidents, for example, the Kallang body parts murder. Soon after that, you had some unpleasant experiences. There was one experience you had in the nightclub, right? You want to share that with us?
Oh, somebody was celebrating his birthday, and there were a lot of guys and girls sitting. So this girl, Chinese girl, very attractive, but she speaks good English. She came and sat beside me and said, are you the lawyer who's defending this person? I said, yeah. How can you defend him? He chopped the girl from China into pieces. How can you defend him? She was very angry. So I told her, well, you Chinese girls come here, you want to take the money of the Singaporean man, these are the consequences. She got up and walked away and never came back. What else you want me to say?
I think there are going to be quite a few entries online soon after this. Okay. Are you trying very hard to change your popular profile by making these kind of statements?
Why should I change my profile? I'm quite happy with it.
Next question, please. Yes.
My name is Ashwin. I'd like to ask Subhash, if you were to become a judge, would you handle the cases of Subhas Anandan any differently? Would you judge them any differently?
Are you a lawyer?
No, I'm not. No.
Good for you.
Firstly, there's no possibility of me being a judge. Secondly, yes, when you are sitting there as a judge, you got to listen to both sides. You got to be impartial. So you look at the cases differently, not in a defense position, you know. So you are a neutral person listening to it. So yes, I think I will look at the cases differently because of the position I'm holding. It has to be.
Yeah, but how? How would you look at it differently from
very
a judge
impartially, very impartially listen to what the prosecution got to say, give it enough weight, listen to what the defense counsel say. As a defense counsel, you try to damage the prosecution's case all the time. Interrupt them, tell them it's silly, this, that, and that, you know. So, but you can't do that when you're a judge.
No. So you said you'll do it differently. How is it? So are you saying that these things are not done today by the judges?
No. You see, when you're a defense counsel, your role is different from when you are a judge, you know.
Yeah.
So you adopt the role of a judge. You listen to both sides very carefully. You weigh the evidence carefully, and then you come to a conclusion. And especially if it is a capital case, you got to think and think again. Because in Singapore, if you're found guilty of murder and other capital offences, the judge got no choice but to sentence you to death. So it's a serious business, you know.
You know, if I may have misread your question, Ashwin, but my follow-up question to that is, if you're a judge and you're trying a criminal case, do you think you'd be inclined to be a lot more sympathetic to the accused? Having been a defense counsel for criminal cases, all this, or criminal...
This is a problem that actually we have, you know. When DPPs, people from the Attorney General's chambers become judges, we somehow fancy that they are a little bit pro-prosecution because of the way they have been thinking. So when a defense counsel becomes a judge, it's natural that he will turn a bit. But on the whole, I think he will get it right in the end.
How sure are we? Because at the end of the day, there is discretion.
Well,
some discretion.
Well, I suppose if it's a 50-50 sort of thing, then you know what he will do. If he is a defense counsel, I think he will be a little bit more eager to give the benefit of the doubt to the accused.
Is there anyone on the bench today who comes from the criminal record, from the criminal track?
From the criminal track, right now, no.
Do you think that's not satisfactory?
Why?
Based
Less
on
they
what
know
you just
better, isn't it?
No. I'm talking about human sympathy.
Oh, human sympathy.
Right. Because if what you say is true, that if you have been a prosecutor all this while and then you move up to either being a district judge or even up to the bench, if your orientation is likely to be, not that you're going to be biased, but I'm talking about where the sympathy could lie, that could determine the way you decide.
Yes. You see, whatever is said and done, judges are also human beings.
Isn't that the problem?
That's the problem. Really. So they have their own weaknesses and strengths. But I think when you are a judge, whatever your prejudices may be, I think you will have to bury it all and look at the facts clearly, the evidence clearly before you come to a conclusion. If not, you will fail as a judge. And I think right now in Singapore, the judiciary, we got good judges. We got good judges.
When you say judiciary, are you also including the district, the sub-courts?
Sub-court, yes, but there's a lot of room for improvement, I would say, in the sub-court. You see, the problem in subcourt is this. In Singapore, there is no division. Today you can be a DPP. Tomorrow you can be a judge, a subordinate court judge.
And some come back to being a DPP.
Yes. So today I'm sitting as a judge. The DPP is arguing the case before me. The transfer notice has come. I know that next week I'll be reporting the Attorney General's chambers, and this DPP is arguing before me. Is going to be my immediate boss. So how do you think I will be reacting? So I think it is not a healthy situation.
How is it in other systems?
I think they can choose after a year or two. I think they can choose either to be a prosecutor or you want to be in the judiciary.
And you stay on that track?
And you stay in the track.
Are there other systems that are similar to ours?
I do not know. I have not made a survey, but I think it should be reasonable to think that in many countries they will not have this system. In fact, we have been asking for this system to change also.
Question? Yes, please.
I think there's a gentleman there.
Oh, I didn't see you. Sorry, you were nicely camouflaged. But anyway, she's pretty, so I'll let her go first. Yes, please.
Tan Suan Im, alumni. Mr. Subhas, I'm a very great admirer of yours. Really, truly. My question is emotional detachment. Somebody once said, you need emotional detachment to do your job. If a doctor is going to be upset each time a patient dies, he cannot function. When somebody you defend is hanged, how do you cope with emotional detachment? Can you be emotionally detached to be able to function and take on another case? Or how do you feel about it? Thank you.
I have taken on cases where on Friday my client has been sentenced to death, and on Monday I go on to a different court to do a different case of murder. So in the beginning it was difficult. Yes, you're right, it's very difficult. And I remember in my first case that I took the death sentence very badly. I couldn't cope with the fact that my client has been sentenced to death. But as time goes on and more people get hanged, you get used to it. Because if you are going to get emotionally attached and you are going to get yourself drunk because every time somebody is hanged, you'll be drunk throughout the year. So slowly you will be able to take away the emotion there. But having said that, there is still that disturbance because it's not easy to stand and hear a death sentence being passed against somebody whom you have defended, sometimes somebody whom you have become quite close to because of the interaction. You see him in jail, you talk to him. So it still has some effect on you, but you'll have to learn to discard it and go on with the other matters. No. The only time...
The question was, do you have to be present when he's hanged?
We don't have to be. The only time an accused person asks for his lawyer to be present is because he wanted the lawyer to see him hang so that the lawyer will know what a bad job he did. But the lawyer refused that request. I see my clients because they ask to see me about 2 or 3 days before they are hanged. And most of them are quite decent. They tell you that you have done what you can, and you sit down and have a chat for about half an hour. Most of them become very religious.
Was there a particular case where your client was hanged or sentenced to death that you felt particularly strongly?
I felt strongly on Atuk's case, the Wong Nas case. I felt in my book actually I said the man who shouldn't have been hanged. I felt quite strongly about it because I thought that he don't deserve to be sentenced to death.
Was that also a case where, apart from the law, was a person that you got to know?
It's very difficult to know Atuk He's all the time having that funny smile on his face, But
The family.
I came to know the family because they're very poor, but they were, they come from Penang all the way. They have no money. They buy some dukus and some fruits for you, and that sort of thing. So I was a bit upset when he was hanged.
I spoke to a couple of your friends. One of the things they said is that you look like a very fierce, thuggish kind of guy, but deep down you're quite soft and gooey, So
I have no comments.
They say that you are actually very soft-hearted and you've particular softness for people who are less fortunate backgrounds. Is that because of your own upbringing, but your own early childhood days?
Yeah, I think so, because I came from a neighborhood which was tough. We were poor.
That's naval base.
Yeah, so yes, I got this special passion for those who are less unfortunate than me. I try to help them wherever I can. That's not because I'm soft and all that. That's just human nature.
The macho side of him denying that part. It's all right. You're a new age. In new age, men can cry even. It's all right.
Yeah, it's okay.
But apart from that, were there any other cases that you'd like to share with us? We've got about 10 minutes more. Which were probably...
That gentleman has been standing there for some time.
Okay, yes. Okay, it gives you time to think of this story. And we want to end with that story. Yes, please.
Hi, my name is Abhinav. Amongst the alumni, I'm actually going to be starting my course of study in law at NUS in about 2 years' time, because right now I'm paying my dues to the nation. So I actually started studying in JC, preparing to be either a business student or a medical student. And during the 2 months before my A-levels, I was taking a break during my studies, and I came across The Best I Could by Subhas Anandan. And the next thing I know, in about 5 months, I'm enrolled in NUS Law. Wow. So I'm not saying that's the only factor, but that definitely inspired me quite a bit. But the question I wanted to ask was that one thing that struck out to me in the book was beyond the court, which is the rehabilitation of people who are convicted or those who have gone through such trials. Where do we stand in that in Singapore? Because I know there's projects like the Yellow Ribbon Project, etc. How effective are they? Or personally for you, Mr. Subhas, as you've seen in your book as well, that it's something that you want to focus on. What is it that how are you engaged in that part of criminal that's seen in Singapore? Thanks.
In my experience, the people in Singapore, they are very unforgiving. They find it very difficult to give people a second chance. They always hold the fact that you have been convicted or you have been in jail against you. It's a mindset that we have to change. The Yellow Ribbon Program is getting a degree of success. And how do I handle this sort of things? Well, my association, we give pro bono services in the community court. We give pro bono services in the bail court. We go and help in community centers. And there are people who approach us who have been convicted. They come to my office, talk to them, try and make 1 or 2 phone calls to fix them a job. But I think more can be done for these people. Because just because you have been convicted one does not make you a bad guy. There could be so many reasons why you did that offense. So it's sad when people just condemn you as totally hopeless just because of one mistake. Because there are many who I know who have been convicted, who have been given a second chance, who are doing very well. But of course there are 1 or 2 backseats who will go back to crime again. But we have to take the risk, We just cannot say because of that we are not going to touch any of these people. I think we all should make a concerted effort to help these people because many of them deserve your help. And I, for one, will never say no to any of these people who approach me for help.
Thank you.
Did you enjoy my book? Oh, okay.
Sorry. Sorry, I can't see. Oh, you. Sorry, the lights are quite glaring. Yes.
Hi.
Okay,
Hi.
1, 2, and 3, and then we'll have to stop there.
My name is Roy. I'm from Tembusu College, one of the U-Town colleges. I'm taking this module called CSI 101, and currently I'm reading about the case of O.J. Simpson. The outcome of the case was, the criminal outcome was that he was acquitted, and the civil case asked him to pay the families who were killed. What do you think about such a case, and do you think that it will happen in Singapore or not?
This is O.J. Simpson.
Yeah.
It will not happen in Singapore because we have abolished the jury long time ago.
Yeah. The jury system.
Jury system. Yeah. So I think it's going to be, for that sort of thing to happen in Singapore, it's going to be quite difficult. But in the States, anything goes lah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I have two questions. One relates to the mandatory death penalty, mandatory death sentence. What's your personal...
Sorry, your name, please.
Ko Chin Hua, an alumnus. Right. So what's your personal position on the mandatory death penalty? The second relates to the presumption of innocence. Some lawyers have commented, in theory, there's a presumption of innocence, but it seems that in practice, you are actually guilty. You are actually presumed guilty. I mean, your earlier comment about the public forming an opinion, the media already sentencing someone you have defended. From what is your opinion on this matter of presumption of innocence in practice when a case goes to court? Because you have an efficient prosecution, or you have a public that forms an opinion. When the judge sits there, does he actually start from a position that the accused is innocent until proven guilty? And I think in a recent Court of Appeal case, I think the appeal judge on this matter said that the beginning is not neutral. That means the accused is presumed innocent. But it seems that in practice, it may be that it's not neutral in the sense, contrary to what the judge said, it could be that it is not neutral because the accused could already be presumed guilty.
In other words, a psychological orientation,
yes,
which is different from what he's required to view it as.
Yes.
Correct?
Thank you.
What I think about the mandatory death sentence is quite known in our country that I am against mandatory death sentence. That does not mean I'm against death sentence. I'm for death sentence, but I am against mandatory death sentence because I think you should not tie the hands of the judge. You should give him the discretion to decide. And this has been raised many times before. And one of the answers given to us by the authorities is that if the discretion is given, the chances are most of the judges will choose not to give that sentence. So by making it mandatory, they have no choice. See? But I think that's wrong. I think our judges now are fully prepared and qualified to exercise their discretion when and when not to sentence the person to death. Right? So that's my view on mandatory sentence. Now, some lawyers say the presumption of innocence is only in theory and it really does not happen. I must tell you, when I was invited by President Wee Kim Wee to the Istana for lunch, he was sitting beside me and said, "Hey Subhas, is it true that in Singapore now you're presumed guilty until proven innocent?" So I said, "No." He said, "That's what I was told." I said, "Some lawyer must have bluffed you." No, it is not true. But there's some truth in it when you talk about the drug offences. because of the presumptions and the double presumptions. There, I think the burden is reversed. You see, you are presumed to know what you are carrying. You are presumed to know this and presumed to know that. So, because of those presumptions, the presumption of innocence is shifted. And that is where we get a lot of criticism from other countries because of these presumptions, which we feel is not right, especially when in Singapore you hang the person for drug trafficking. So, but other than that, the presumption of innocence is there. The judge should start off on the basis that the presumption is there. If he starts, otherwise he shouldn't be sitting there.
So what you're saying is that in the drug cases, drug trafficking cases, the presumption, that you can't presume that he doesn't know he's in possession, right? And so that overrides the other presumption.
Okay. It's presumed that you know it is drug. The knowledge is there, you know.
Yeah, it's a technicality. Yes, please. You sure? Is it because I made you stand there for so long? Right. Thank you. We have come online questions.
Yeah, just the last few ones. They're really short and easy to answer. I think we have a lot of law students or prospective law students in the online audience, and a few of them asked, username Blue Dolphin asks, could you name some mentors or inspiring people that you've come across? And username Clarence Chin was wondering, hold on one second. Maybe you can answer the first one first.
Okay.
Yep.
Mentors.
Yeah.
I think the mentor worth mentioning is my father. I think he was my best mentor.
What did you learn from him?
Learn from him to be honest, that there must be integrity, and there must be loyalty, things like that.
Okay. That's great. Okay. And the last question, about what are your secrets to being a top lawyer? Everyone wants to excel, and what are your tips to the top?
Firstly, I don't know whether I'm the top lawyer. And if I am, I think I don't want to tell you my secrets.
That in itself makes you a top lawyer. Final question, Subhash, before we wrap. What is that one message that you would give to Singaporeans when it comes to people accused of criminal offences? To the public.
Do not judge him until the trial is over.
Could you elaborate on that?
In the sense that you wait, don't worry about what the papers say, what people say, what the DPP say. Wait until the trial is over and find the verdict. Then you judge him. Don't judge him before the trial because it's not really fair.
Right. On that note, we'll have to wrap here. But those of you who are interested in continuing a dialogue with Subhash for another half an hour or so, we'll take a short break outside for some light refreshments, and then you can adjourn to another room outside there for those of you who want to stay back. So we're ending it here for those of you who want to go back and have other things to do, except for us, right? And it leaves me now to ask you to join me to thank Subhash for taking time off his extremely busy schedule and his family time to be here with us. And we wish you all the best, Subhash. Thank you.
Thank you.
We have something for you. This is a picture of two very handsome men. It's a picture taken of us as we were here.
Oh.
Right? And it's a souvenir to you. So, here you are. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
And this is for you to say something nice about us. This is for us to keep. So, you want to say something nice about us here and then show it to the world.
I will say that Wait.
He's got a doctor's handwriting.
Yeah. I put every individual counts in society.
Well said. Well, thank you. Thanks, Subhash, again.
Thank you.
Come.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for participating in today's You Are Live session. Should you wish to continue a discussion with the speaker, an additional session will be held from 8:55 p.m. to 9:25 p.m. in Seminar Room 1. If you wish to nominate a future speaker, please do so via the feedback form given to you earlier. Additional forms are also available at the registration table. Thank you, and we look forward to seeing you at the next You Are Live session.